noticed very early on, and actually started recording, writing down when I noticed it. But Alexa, when it's listening, lights up. And it's supposedly, allegedly, only supposed to light up when you say its keyword, right? But here's the thing I noticed. When I said certain brands' names or certain words, it would quickly light up and then drop. And, I realized what it's doing is it is randomly tagging when I was saying certain key phrases or words that had nothing to do with Alexa. So I would say like a major brand. I would say like Marriott's doing this, and it would light up. And so it was paying attention to what I was saying and logging that. So it's spying on you. They claim it's not. They claim that it only listens for its keyword, and that's the only time it's recording to its servers. But here's the thing, like doing it on purpose, doing it on accident, whatever they're going to say happened when they logged mistakenly all these other things, the bottom line is it's troublesome tech. For as far as privacy goes, so it's one thing for someone like me in my own private use of it to have it sitting around and letting that be the case or not, because I accepted the terms of service of Alexa.
Yes.
But what I'm concerned about for hotels that are looking at putting Echoes or Dots into all of their hotel rooms is, are you also then going to make sure that every guest agrees to the terms of service of Alexa? Because if not, you're forcing them to exposure for something that they've not agreed to the terms of engagement on.
Well, it's a lot like, if you had somebody check into your hotel and say, oh, by the way, we have a camera in your room that we have control over, you don't. And of course, we're not going to turn it on, so we think, but it's for your own security. You'd be like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Right.
After I read this article and after your admonishment over and over about, hey, I unplugged my Alexa because, these things were happening to me. I started looking at the terms of service that you're agreeing to with the Alexa. And it's a shell game, because in the terms of service, they refer to terms of service and other terms of service in your other relationships with Amazon. Well, your Amazon Prime relationship, your purchase agreements with Amazon. There's lots of little, rather than quote, quote, retype the section in their mind, they're saying, oh, well, refer to your terms of agreement with your purchasing with Amazon online, or refer to your terms of agreement when you're with your Amazon Prime about your client relationship. And it's really a shell game that if you start trying to, I only chase down a couple of them, but you are pretty much saying, look, in order to use this product, whatever you make it do, I have to accept in order to use the product.
Right.
The boiling down of it all. And when they did say in this little article, let me throw up the link while we're chatting about it, was that there was data that was already handed over. So going to your point, what data would there be if there was nothing being asked of the unit? What data would have been shared for that? And
well, in this specific case, she had music playing on it, and they're saying, well, it's active and being used. It is recording.
What is the term? Well, I'm not going to get into the legalities. What's active and so forth is all up to, okay, so when does that actually qualify for recordable versus non-recordable and all the rest of it? Yeah. We can pretty much assume that they're going to make that a very broad statement and apply it as liberally as they would like to.
Right. So my takeaway here for hotels is if you plan on putting any Internet of Things, let's broaden this, any Internet of Things device in your hotel rooms, if that at all does any form of logging, recording, listening, anything like that, you need to think through what you need to have your guests responding to, and whether or not your rooms should have posted warnings.
Mm-hmm.
That this device may or may not record you while you're in the room. Therefore, if you don't agree with that, unplug it at least.
Mm-hmm. And just on this vein, and as I was digging around for articles for this week's show, there was the announcement that a Loft in Boston and somewhere in Canada has a little robot running around, which I found out was a $100,000 robot. In order for a Loft to have that little robot, it's a freaking $100,000. I'm like, it's not that cute.
Is it? So my question is does it replace 10 employees.
I was about to say, what? Yeah. Oh no, you're dogging on the salaries, but yeah, probably 12 employees. But 100 times always have. But there, these two lofts have the feature that Siri is in the rooms. They left an iPad in there that's connected to the control of the rooms, and it's Siri. And great to your point. Okay, same conditions, different hardware.
Yep.
Yeah,
because when you have Siri's voice command turned on, it's always listening. Again, if you go actually read the personal terms of service in that, you'll see that like they kept it vague enough to keep themselves out of trouble. But you just really have to understand that your guests aren't agreeing to these terms of service, and you can't bury them. So legally, this is a challenging area that I encourage any hotel looking to put any Internet of Things device in their rooms, common areas, things like that, have a legal review done on, are you violating the privacy rights of your guests?
I'm sure, and given in time, because right now everybody's still hiding behind, hey, it's new technology, this is new frontier, it's Wild West. These things have to be developed because of need. And so they're allowing this latitude of ambiguity to dictate their ability to get away with this stuff. But eventually there's going to have to be some sort of my account controls the device. And in my account, there is some designation of security protocol that I say I do not share unless of the following. But that's probably going to be a long time coming. There are going to have to be some lawsuits that come through between now and then, and some contentions that have to come up that make headlines for those things to get happen, because there's no reason for the developer to want to put them in before they get needed or demanded. Not needed, demanded. Because to them, the benefit of their marketability and sellability is their data they're able to glean off of this stuff.
Yep.
You look at all the things that Amazon has with those. What are those little tabs that they have where you just click the button and it orders it? What are those things? I can't remember the name off the hand.
Dots. I think they're called dots.
Yeah. And you can hybrid those. You can make them do a lot of different functions with IFTTT. You can crack them open and make them do different things like turn on lights and all. But anyway, that whole functionality is going to, that was probably just a leapfrog technology that, as these.
What's interesting is like the laws around all of this are going to be changing rapidly with that. What was it, a month or two ago, the massive hacking that took place that turns out it was done through a malware to IoT devices, where a hacker activated millions of IoT devices to act as bots to do a DDoS attack on a couple of the major players in the internet. Like they took over half the internet down with it, and basically just fed on the fact that IoT security is lacking. It's not the same level of other electronic devices security. So they were able to take control of tens of millions of devices and basically have them all attack something. So now laws are being proposed, and where's the liability fall is being worked out. So this is something that if you're really interested in IoT for your property, make sure you figure out a way to cut your exposure as these things turn into law, and make sure you're thinking through that as you invest in it.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. True to form, not to be cliche, it is a bit of the Wild West when it comes to, as you want to be an early adopter for the value proposition of driving interest to your hotel or to your outlet, is the risk also that you're incurring, that if you put yourself into that vulnerable position while these laws aren't been created, or there's some sort of guidelines to them, that there is recourse, that there are people that will be able to come back to you and say, you didn't tell me that when you did that. And you can say, well, it wasn't there when I needed it. Regardless, it still gives them a contention, especially in this world of sue me for everything, including a hot cup of coffee.
Well, and honestly, if I was a hotel owner looking to ride this wave but limit exposure, I would adopt a bring your own device mentality to these things. Mm-hmm. So rather than having an Echo in the room that's under your hotel's account, is allow people with devices that have voice control to take control of the rooms. Through their own device. That has its own slew of issues and challenges. But if you're going to want to ride this wave and appeal to the people who you're trying to appeal to with this, the same people who wear Bluetooth headsets.
You're not gonna let that one go.
Never. No, but a perfect example is I stayed at a Hilton in Dallas, and I was able to download a remote application on my phone to control the TV.
Yeah,
and I did. And it was actually, I did it out of curiosity, but it actually worked really well, which was surprising. But that's an example of bring your own device.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of merit to it. To be honest with you, I mean, I travel with a Chrome, and as soon as I get in a hotel room, I jack it if there's an empty HDMI in the back of the TV, and even if there's not, if they don't do the secure lock to the one that they have in there, I jack it in there anyway. And I play on my own stuff off my iPad or laptop because I have no interest in the stuff that they have on their, I mean, yeah, they may have HBOs and so forth, but to me, it's like it's uncontrollable. I want to watch whatever it is that I have an interest in that I already have an account for. To me, there is a slew of problems and issues that do have to get addressed, mainly technical ones. But having my own device, which we're already relying upon it for so many things anyway, as soon as I walk into the room, let it identify it by either MAC address or some technology relationship to it that allows you to control the thermostats, the TV selections, certain lights, perhaps, other than safety lights, that you can, and have it all of a sudden connect into the intranet of the hotel's communication system as well.
Right.
So now you are a designated contact with it. I mean, there's value to that.
And this is where IT staff at a hotel should become very familiar with demilitarized zones inside your networks.
Because, or at least in some cases, even knowing that they should exist, that there should be some very specific walls between things rather than, hey, look, I'm on the back of the house Wi-Fi.
Yeah, wow. How cool.
Let me log into their PMS system. Golly, this is great.
Yep.
Yeah. There is, it is fun, but it's fun stuff to talk about. I mean, there's no critical damage done to them. There's no potential loss of life or tragedies associated with these things. These are fun things to think about, but they do have their onslaught of problems potential where, yeah, you throw an Alexa thinking you're being cued into a hotel room so you can pitch and sell the fact that you have Alexa in there. And the next thing you know, 6 months later, a new law comes out and you're being chased by the people that stayed in the room for the first time that you're invading their privacy, little unbeknownst to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's risk reward to it. Okay, there is a link. I'm going to put it up. I shared with you, and that is these are trends that who put this one together?
Marketo.
Marketo put it together.
Which, by the way,
and
if you're trying to learn anything about what's happening in marketing, Marketo's a great blog, and so is HubSpot.
We never really talk about the things we tend to follow. So HubSpot is definitely a strong one. Marketo's a strong one. I almost want to say there's a spectrum that we should create. This is something I might, this is not a bad idea. Let me write this one down. I saw a really neat graphic where it talked about the diversity of broadcasting between liberalism and conservatism.
Mm-hmm.
And they show the different ones in kind of a pattern across from extreme left to extreme right kind of thing. And it was kind of interesting to see where some of your ones that you follow land, whether they're in an ambiguous middle road, slightly right, middle ambiguous, slightly left, or extreme left, extreme right, or down the middle kind of stuff. And we should do that for blogs as well, because there are definitely polarizing blog news quasi feeds that are very, very much about an agenda and a particular view.
Right. And
then there's others that are much more about this is what's going on, and they kind of balance what they present in a more meaningful way. And then there's some they're incredibly valuable, but you have to kind of knock the chafe away that it is self-fulfilling, it is salesy. And I don't mind saying this, like Hebs. Hebs is a great example of some exceptionally excellent content. Max Sarkoff and his team are incredibly brilliant, but make no mistake about it. Everything they put together is to drive you to do business with them.
Yep.
And they do great stuff. Do not get me wrong. There's no negativity to this other than to say that this is great content, but you got sometimes if you're looking at purely for the content value, you got to knock the chafe away and get rid of the sales pitch.
Yep.
To get to the core of the content. But the content is rock solid. He's been putting out some great direct marketing stuff recently.
Yeah, he puts out great stuff. Tambourine puts out really good stuff.
Dave Spector down in Tambourine does great stuff. His Friday freebies are a blast. I mean, sometimes the headline is stronger than the content, but make no mistake, it makes you think either way. I mean, the headline or the content makes you think about whatever was the purpose of it.
Hey.
So his Friday freebies are pretty cool.
Yeah, clickbait's real. So.
Yeah, HubSpot, Marketo, those are two solid ones.
Yep.
Hotel News Now and T News, they're they float.
Grain of
They
salt.
float. Sometimes
Those
they got
are
good
those
stuff.
are
Sometimes
those are
they're-
grain of salt sources.
Yeah, those are ones they're sometimes so much in a rush to be first to say it that there's nothing in the content of what they just said. They just kind of sometimes almost I've seen them actually rehash old articles and throw them into the new article just because they're somehow relevant to the headline of some sort of broadcasting that they're doing. So there are some, Hospitality Net's pretty good.
Yep.
I know there's a bunch of others, and I'm not even thinking about them right now. But there are some really, like I said, if you get a spectrum of them,
I
then
know
you
it sounds
can kind of
funny,
look at all of them.
but if you want to know what's going on, in a way, again, grain of salt. Hotel Online, it's all paid, and people are putting it there for purposes of attracting information, but they actually get some pretty good stories because they publish what people actually put out there because the people who put it out there are paying to have it published. I've always been a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm putting
And
the
again,
Marketo link.
it's less news and more press release, but you can get a lot from press releases.
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I mean, it's if you kind of balance between the press releases, the pure press releases, I want to tell you exactly the way I want to craft the message press release, with how people are bouncing that as a mirror off of how they see what you're doing. You kind of get somewhere in the middle. It's kind of like what we do for consumer feedback when it comes to TripAdvisors and other, the Expedia feedbacks and so forth, that if you take out the extremes on both ends, the people that work for them and the people that work against them, and you kind of look for what's in the middle and the commonality of what's being said, you get more of a true, that's really an issue kind of thing that goes.
Robert Cole.
What?
Does he have a hairnet on?
Okay. This is not going to work at all.
He's trying.
Where is he trying?
I'm not.
Where are you?
I'm sorry.
You're Mr. Roboto.
Yeah, we're barely able to make out what you're saying. All we can see is a blurred representation of your head.
Now we have this amazing silhouette. We can hear. Go ahead.
Just saying.
Oh.
Are you doing this because you're sitting in a tropical location with a tropical drink in your hand and you want to just rub that fact in, or are you being sincere and you miss us? He's not answering. Yeah. I think I caught him on that one.
Happy holidays.
I think if he could send us a still shot of him holding a Mai Tai while he sits in St. Thomas,
that would be amazing. Overlooking
the Frenchman's face, he would. Yeah, I think he really would just send that picture to us going, we've missed you guys. I sure would rather be on the show than here. Nah.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
so those blogs are great. I don't have much to say about the map maker. Google lights up and shuts down things all the time, and it messes people up. Like, you should just always know, if you're going to use Google for anything, be aware that it could be shut down at any time.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I grabbed this one, I mean, I'll be honest with you, because I have used MapMaker to chase down assholes. Is
nice language.
Yeah, it's just my show, our show. Or what the hell? It's great. We're together. See, this is what happens when it's just
you. Weird. It gets weird.
Potty mouth. Potty mouth.
You're always potty mouth. It's just
MapMaker was fun because you had a lot of hijackers, people that would try to hijack your NAP information off of your local feeds. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of ways to do this. I'm certainly not going to share that for anybody to try to adopt it anyway. But there's lots of ways, not so many ways to catch them. There's lots of ways to do it. There's not so many ways to catch them. MapMaker was one way of doing it, because in order to really get the Google feed to change, MapMaker was a platform you had to do it in, and you had to be logged in to do these changes. So a lot of people created anonymous accounts and so forth. And of course, that was a red flag whenever you saw a change done by an anonymous person. And you can have Google chase them down and shut them off, so they have to recreate their account to continue to abuse you. Right. How I mean by this is that when a hotel tries to show up in especially Google Maps or anything that Google feeds as maps, if I'm as a business, I want to steal your business, I act as you, I put my information, whether it be a phone number or whatever contact information I want to put, and take your location data as being mine. So when people look for you, they contact me. It's a really common citation hijack process. MapMaker was one of the few platforms where you could actually have recourse and identify it much simpler. Now, MapMaker's shutting down, and now you can't really chase where that poison dropped into the water. You got to kind of all of a sudden, crap, I've lost these links, that link, this link, and citation. Now I got to go and change all my water out. I got to go check everything and reset everything. Now there's platforms like Yext Happy holidays. Oh, that's Robert. Thank you, Robert. Although it sounds like I just said it, but thank you.
Creepy.
Yes, I'm talking to myself. Self, I says. So now Yext is supposed to be a good place to do this with, but Yext does their own posts for you. Yext is you. And I know that sounds really odd, but Yext replaces your citation with their citation work. So you're kind of dedicated. It's proprietary platform. So when you leave Yext, you're kind of screwing yourself because now you have to go back and reconstitute all of your citation. And for people who don't know what citation is, it's your local information, your name, address, phone number data that's shared on the phone data, the Google data, the Apple data, the everybody data as to where you're located on maps and your actual presence, brick and mortar presence. So it's a big deal that your NAP information gets stolen. And it's an unfortunate larger than normal deal that mapmakers getting closed only to those that used it to find the people that stole their naps. So anyway, that's why this was.
And then
okay, so,
and then the unfortunate, IHG chasing down if there was a breach. I mean, this just furthers kind of a theme of 15 and 16, which is if you are hosting your own monolithic technology that's old, you're at risk. And it further speaks to, kind of the point and kind of the movement you're seeing where hotel companies are starting to accept that they're hotel companies and not, IT infrastructure upkeep entities. Security as a service is a thing. You should be looking into it if you have your own software, and if you're not investing in that software the same way vendors are. And so that's where you saw, I'm sure it was in some of the decision for Wyndham to go to Sabre. I'm sure it's in some of this decision for IHG to enter their partnership with Amadeus. And not just that, to push liability. If you're a hotel group using a vendor for technology, the vendor has an SLA, and in that SLA is, terms about security and protocols and, different standards of care and all of that. If you have your own technology, you have no SLA. You are taking on
SOL.
The liability.
You're SOL.
Yeah, exactly. You're SOL. And if you're not investing in staying ahead of these issues, and you have your own technology, you're setting yourself up to have egg on your face at some point.
Yeah. Now, to go to that extreme also is that this, in a very real sense, and this goes back to history when I was with hotels in particular, when the great transition of phones as a revenue source for hotels disappeared over the usage of internet and people start carrying their cell phones. We're going back 10 plus years, 12, 14 years, 15 years. Actually 12 plus years when people started doing it. Then there was this resistance to actually invest in anything that didn't create revenue.
Right.
And IT was not a place that created revenue. And so there was this brand luxury, that brand early on, brand relationship was you had to buy their hardware and use their software. Then it transitioned into you had to buy their designated hardware, not necessarily theirs. It wasn't, and then you had to maintain it yourself, but still use their software. They wouldn't support the hardware because then the brands started getting larger and they didn't have any support structure for it. Never during this course of time was hotel ownerships investing in IT. Then when the Wi-Fi started getting offered, a lot of third-party services started coming in and offering the Wi-Fi, and they were the ones that supported their own hardware and services, and then that transitioned out because they couldn't monetize that model. There just wasn't a way to do that.
Right.
And so then that burden also felt on this fledgling IT office, which is usually that one dude that sits on the back of the banquet storage room with what used to be a closet that a power line got dragged to or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was your IT dude, right? And he wasn't given any responsibilities, authority, power, or anything. He was a dude that people ran into and said, the dude in room 120 can't get on the Wi-Fi, and he goes up and helps him log in or something. Okay. And he really wasn't. And there was still a phone guy. There was still the Mitel system sitting in a nice room, air conditioned and everything else. But he didn't operate those. He didn't control those. And so there's never been this infusion of value proposition to IT. And I know from having friends in IT that with the hotel ownerships and so forth, most of their time was spent going down underneath the desk at the front desk because the front desk terminal stopped working. And they pulled out the desktop version, and there was 3 inches of of dust bunny foam on the back of the intake of the box because it was shoved in the back of the closet and no circulation. It just sucked up the dirt until it died, and that was IT. And now all of a sudden IT isn't that anymore. It's that and the fact that, holy shit, you let everybody and their brother go over and have access to back of the house Wi-Fi, and then you never had no network administrator to shut off when you terminated them or they moved on, and their open access is still sitting there. And I can say this because I'm still have access to crap I shouldn't have. There's times where something will pop up and go, where did I get that email from? And it's because some email string from some hotel that I connected into their back system back in the day shared something on a list that I was somehow on, Yep. Because it still exists. The network administration is such a critical role now that as soon as somebody leaves an account, boom, everything about knowing what they're connected to should immediately shut off. And the best way to do it is to have it funnel through one connection point, like a Google G Business or G Suite kind of thing or something, where you shut that off and all their accesses are no longer available.
Yep.
Everything was connected to that kind of stuff, so that immediately you stem off all those leaks, because that's where this stuff gets in trouble. Somebody like you, and we've had so many show discussions about security. I still love your example. If you want to see how bad your hotel security is, throw a bunch of little USB drives out in the parking lot. I mean, I think that's a brilliant example of security.
And that's the thing is I think when everyone thinks about hackers and everything like that, they think about like espionage level hackers, but a lot of hackers just expose laziness, stupidity, compliancy. The big Target hack, that was a mix of compliancy and just laziness and kind of some stupidity, and it exposed just a ton of people. It was a huge issue for Target. So this is something you have to accept, first of all, as a hotel owner, and you also have to think about it. You can't say Wi-Fi is a straight line cost, because it's not. It's built into your rate. So people who are staying with you, who are expecting Wi-Fi to be included in that rate, you're getting money for it, And so attribution, it's not as straightforward as it once was, where it was a la carte and you could either have it or not. Now it's there to use it, and it's part of the rate. So it's part of the cost of doing business, and it's a reason people will return. So if you give them crappy Wi-Fi, they may not return. So that is more expensive than giving them good Wi-Fi. And so if technology is part of your guest experience, then everything that goes around it should be invested in correctly.
Yeah, very true. And it also lends itself to that the C level, the executive level, is the worst culprit. And beyond, you say that your hacks aren't the professional hacks all the time. It's true. It could be a disgruntled employee. It could be somebody just because they tried something and it worked and they just want to see if they can keep going as far as they can go. A lot of times it's just out of, well, nobody stopped me and I just decided to keep seeing how far we go. But all executives and C-level people and people that are above the fray in their mind don't want to follow the rules that they dictate to their staffers in some things. Like, I don't want to have to change my password every month. I don't want to just set it up so that it's, and I'll send a policy that says don't ever write your password down and put it underneath your blotter if you still have a blotter. But
what is a blotter?
It's a thing that sits on your desk. That's a big sheet of paper that you sat on what you worked on, and then you could always write notes strict on it.
Like a notebook?
No, it was a blotter. Okay, Dead Poets Society. Remember when the guy gets the gift and it's a whole office set, and that big square piece on the bottom, that's a blotter. That sits on the desk in front of you. Yeah, and it's the big thing that you kind of work on. Anyway.
I don't have one.
I know. That's okay. Again, age has crept into the conversation. But they do it. They'll break their own rules. Why? Because they're above the law. They wrote the law. They think they don't have to follow the law. And what ended up happening is,
and they're the point of biggest weakness. It's the easiest.
They're the point of the biggest weakness. They're the ones that put their password in as password. They're the ones that never get their password changed, because hell be the IT guy tell the boss's boss that he can't have a permanent password.
Well, and here's the thing. Okay, so you want to be lazy like that? At least turn on 2-factor authentication. Like
Yeah,
almost
they don't even know
all
how to spell
technology has the ability for two-factor authentication, and at least turn that on. So, and everyone carries a phone around with them. At
Yeah.
least the people who think they're above the law, who set the law.
But how many people do you notice are too lazy to even put on the lock on their screen?
Oh,
I'm
well,
in constant
my
amazement.
policy about that, right?
Why? No. Oh, yeah. If you find it unlocked,
both companies,
it's open season.
It's open season. You find someone's computer unlocked, you are welcome to either send an email on their behalf, a social post, whatever's accessible on their site.
Because you left it out, yes. But I can see. I even go to Starbucks. I mean, I'm at the airport, and this is no exaggeration. And then I'm amazed that people do this. Now, maybe I'm just being paranoid about this. They'll throw their bags and their phone down on a chair over by a gate, and Starbucks is diagonal over by another gate.
Oh yeah! Like, first of all, you're breaking the law. You're breaking the law by doing that. You're leaving baggage.
Not only the law for that, but then they walk over to Starbucks. Their phone is sitting there, and it's literally right beside me. Right? The person doesn't even ask me, "Hey, can you keep an eye on my stuff?" Which I'd be like, "Hey, dude, I'm really not comfortable with that." But throws it down. Phone's sitting there, unlocked, and he's over there, and I'm looking at him. If he looked over once, maybe. I'm thinking there's hundreds of people walk by. All they have to do is go snag, off, and gone. But it's unlocked. And I'm sitting there going, dude, you don't realize, or you don't care. Either way, it's bad. Yep. But it's persistent. Like, I see people in the lobbies all the time. They have their stuff down. They get up. They walk over to some other place, and their computer's unlocked. It's the computer, but their phone's usually sitting there unlocked because they're too lazy to lock it. And then they wonder, somebody stole my ID. This is terrible. Yeah, you kind of put a sign that said, please steal me. It's amazing.
And did they steal it, or did they just take the opportunity you presented to them?
Opportunistic. Yep, opportunistic. Hey, I want to read through this Marketo blog and see what your reactions are to some of it, because we have talked about all these items in one fashion or form or another. The first one they point out is increased social search functionality. They refer to it as being one of the fastest growing niches. We've hit this. As a matter of fact, one of the show stats that I had was Facebook, other than one show, has been a persistent topic in some form, fashion, or whether it's been a tool, a technique, case study, or just general conversation of what's going on with Facebook. In every show we've done this year, it's been a part of the topic list. And this is no exception to it. I mean, it's refinement of being able to be
discovery has changed. How you discover things has changed. Social has become part of it. You have to accept it. And part of the reason, too, is there's just too much stuff out there. There's too many options. So just going to a search engine, sometimes people just don't know what to search for. So they look for inspiration. And inspiration is done on social, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat.
It's amazing. If you were to go back 5 years, which would be 2011, and say that fake media would be the bane of our election process, regardless of the Russian hacking, which I have a Russian connection to, I got to tell you about.
You sure you want to do that live?
Well, no, it's one that I discovered. I'm like, oh, so that's how the Russians did it. I found it on my website. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, how they hid it. But anyway, they would be like, how can you do that? I mean, how can there be fake media? Because at the time, 5 years ago, just hear me out on this, was that we had PR releases, pretty still traditional news release. XYZ company, announcing in my own words exactly what I'm doing that's to my benefit, and here's all my detailed information when you want to reach out to me. That compared to traditional mainstream media, which was ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN. Of course, we had our own Rush Limbaughs and stuff back at the time that were divergent, so we did have podcasting in a very rudimentary way. There were other avenues, but never to such a propagation that we would say that fake news feeds, because nobody would be able to say, how can you have fake news, until advanced in 5 years. Social is where most people get their news. Social is tailored to your interests. So interest is based on your news interest, and that means you're going to get fed what you're interested in. Now all of a sudden people are feeding bogus information in that stream. You're believing it. You're acting on it. And now all of a sudden we have what we have coming at the end of 2016, which is fake news.
So the fake news problem's been coming for a long time before social. Social didn't cause fake news.
You pulled a Tim.
Actually, I have something to say about this, and I have a blog
I have a blog about this.
So first of all, when news shifted from being fact-based, so that started a long time ago. Walter Cronkite, players like that started putting their point of view over the lens of what the is the news. That started the fake news movement. Then you move forward, and even today, based on political beliefs, you can go and hear about the same story from any what should be legitimate news outlet, and it's through a lens of how you want to hear it based on your political views and whether you're aligned with that news outlet or not. So that's been going for a long time.
Right.
If you read the blog that I just posted up, I actually wrote about the echo chamber effect, and there's a great link to a Wall Street Journal article that actually shows the difference in the news feeds that were fed to people who leaned conservative versus people who leaned liberal. And so what's happened is we've, through the way social is architected and through trying to make the social experience more pleasant for people, new opportunities existed for us to filter who we hear from. So there's been many psychological articles done on how we interact as humans face to face. And there's been a couple of studies done about the fact that people will continue to hang around with people that they don't like because they're just don't want to cut the tie. They don't want the awkwardness. Social eliminated that. Social allows you to unfollow people that you don't like hearing from without them knowing. So what ends up happening is you end up creating a laser focused news feed of people who don't upset you, and sites that don't upset you, and points of view that don't upset you. Now take that, layer that in with the ethical issues that have existed in news for a very long time, and it became hyper-focused. And it created this echo chamber where you were only receiving points of view that would make it past whatever your self-selection was, which ends up being extreme. And unfortunately, it was really noticeable because this election was polarizing. It was extreme ends and nothing in the middle. So, I wrote a blog about it because, first of all, we know a lot about it at Flip2. It's one of the reasons we're successful is your guests are communicating with people who are of the same social, economic, geographical makeup as them, which means because this person is your guest, they know someone who will make the same exact decision as them. It's one of the key, points of Flip2 and why Flip2 drives business to hotels. But that applies to everything. And so, yes, there are those people like myself who actually enjoy looking at the craziness of the random collection of people that I have in my social feed. And so my social feed was less focused than, what is generally being seen out there. But it's also because I like the crazy. I like watching it. It's a slow train wreck.
Yeah, you and I are interested because for me, I know Facebook is different for different people. It's a statement to be made. Some people only have a handful of people that they follow because they base it on that they have to really have a connection with them to follow them. I'm a Facebook whore. I follow everything, everybody, any which way. I don't care if you're a car wash. I like you. Yeah, and the fun part of it is I did it back from when I first started getting into Facebook way at the very beginning was I was now privy to feeds and perceptions and things that have nothing to do with me. I have no idea what's in the mind of a 21 or 22-year-old dude that is just going to college, but I have a friend that does in Facebook, and he's posting whatever he's interested in at the time. And I got so aware of different things from what people were posting just because that's to me what I like the social platform. Now I'm opposite when it comes to LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm hardcore. Either I know you from working with you or you're in industry specific that I'm correlated with, hospitality. That's it. I mean, you have to have a valuable relationship. I don't follow anybody. I have to follow people that I feel have a direct link to what I'm interested in as a career and choice. So I'm opposites on those. Twitter, I'm more selective about business focus. My personal account's business focus. I keep connected to people that are digital marketing related. There's this girl named Lauren Gregg, really cute, 14, 15, 16-year-old girl that does these Lively shows, live.ly. Which are the musicality videos. Okay. All right. Dude, I have hundreds of mentions on Twitter that they think it's me. And they're posting her picture, okay?
That's
Lauren
amazing.
Gray, awesome this, and there's this really cute picture of this little girl. And now when people start realizing that the handle's not hers is the Lauren Gray, mine's Lauren Gray. They're like, you should sell yours to Lauren. She has hundreds of thousands of followers. I mean, I'm way behind her when it comes to Twitter or something. And I'm sitting there going, no. I've had this.
Listen,
no.
they said sell, so sure, make an offer.
There is always a price, right? There's always a price. Maybe it turns into the next whoever. Maybe there's a price.
You know, it's funny because we also witnessed the opposite of that with Tim Peter and his Twitter handle TC Peter versus TC Peters plural, and TC Peters is not very patient when people incorrectly tag her. And is borderline what you would consider a troll in how she reacts to these things, and so it's very funny. So you're a Lauren Gray's troll, and Tim's got a troll. You know, that's
at first I tried to correct it and say, "Hey, look, it's not me. It's at the Lauren Gray and so forth." It doesn't. I mean, the flood of the people. I mean, when you're dealing with those hundreds of thousands of followers, it's just too much. I would be wasting my time constantly replying back to people. Hey, it's not me. Hey, it's not me.
No, but you should reply. Thanks. I'm trending because of you, and I did nothing.
I'm trending because of you. But the funny part is like people that try to follow me, I have to literally look at each one of them because there is dozens of people that want to follow me that are like love music and bubblegum and all this weird stuff, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not. You don't think it is who I am. I am. That kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, I do love bubblegum, but not the way I think you're referring to it. Okay, real-time marketing. That's a trend that they're talking about.
Yep. Yes.
And that goes to one of the stats that I thought was kind of tongue-in-cheek for me. Meta search occupied half of our year. there was a period of time that Meta search was in our weekly conversations for about, I'd say 6 months. And that was because I was working with Derby South at the time.
Lines up to an engagement, doesn't it?
Doesn't it, though?
It feels like it does.
Actually, I was pretty impressed with Derby South. They just did a new press release out, and they're adding 2 new products to their line. I got to take some time with them and get back in touch with them about their one product, which looks pretty interesting for independent hotels. But anyway, real-time marketing. I'm a huge fan of this. I've been an advocate of this. That I've been on a soapbox about this. I don't think there's much to add. I mean, whatever your perspective you have on it, that that to me is one of the things that are going to be big time this year.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and it's a great way to get organic reach on the social networks. So, your organic reach in your traditional posting to your page and your followers seeing it is pretty much non-existent. But now do a Facebook Live, and everyone and their sister gets notified. It actually pops, it pushes a notification to people to try to get them, because Facebook's trying to promote the usage of the platform. So it's really beneficial to people who post live, Facebook Live. Same thing with, Periscope, which isn't Periscope supposed to be going away or dying or something?
I had thought, they just recently integrated as Twitter's live platform.
Okay, so they're just renaming it.
Yeah, but I think it's just a resurgence because of change. I think they're just too little, too late for what they should have done a lot sooner.
Well, I mean, their kind of just half-assed approach into live video completely crushed Meerkat.
Oh yeah,
the real people who got it on the main stage of social discussions and everything.
South by Southwest, their big announcement, and look how fast that fizzled and died for. We did go Meerkat Live once back last year, actually. Before I was looking through all the history of what we had, and we did actually do a Periscope in Show 30, where now we do it every week. This is our third Periscope Live that we're doing as now that you can broadcast from a computer rather than just having to hold a phone up.
Yep.
So we're doing Periscope Live for it. I have a tie-in that I'm going to be pushing YouTube Live next show in addition to, so if I can't get enough of them at the same time. So we're doing that, but we do always have it on YouTube afterwards anyway. Yep. And we get a decent audience out of that. I was really looking historically. That's where I got a lot of the countries out of the historical stats. And this is one of my Russian ties. We have been watched in 27 countries from the 2 platforms I can actually track the countries on. So hopefully there's more than that. We just can't track them on Hausa, and Blab never gave me any information because it's gone now when we first started on it.
Yep.
So I don't have those to go after and reach. But 27
Yeah,
countries.
so real-time marketing, I agree, it's a huge opportunity. And there's a lot to real-time. It's not just video. Being able to interact with someone at the correct time is always a benefit, because you'll stick out from everyone who's hours delayed in any type of response.
Well, it goes back to that Google Softs, Google Softs. That's when Google and Microsoft together, right? Google's micro moments, where that and also live, to me, also live real-time marketing is the dynamic pricing and ads that you can place into your Facebook DAP program and stuff like that.
Yep.
Of course, obviously, they refer to live video streaming. Duh, we're on it. Increasing.
I think it's a horrible idea. Why would anyone spend
passing's bad, I say,
2 to 3 hours a week consistently for over a year doing that?
That's right. That's just crazy talk. Well, Facebook's at least pushing it now, and pushing it hard and getting people. And unfortunately, that also incurs a lot of crap on Facebook. There's a lot of Facebook lives I'm looking at going, I really don't need to be notified about you staring at your cat.
Well, and the worst are the still images.
Yeah. Or the repeat plays.
Yes.
They just throw up a video, but they're broadcasting it live, and you're looking at it going, that's just garbage. Anyway, let's see. Item number 4, Evolution pay per sale. Yeah. I don't know if it's one of the big features of 2016.
No, I think that's more wishful thinking. They're hoping that because they put it out into the ether, it will it'll develop more.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's where we're at yet.
Although in the hotel industry, pay per sale has existed for quite some time, and the hotels hate it. They're called OTAs.
Yes.
Because you don't pay them until they sell a room.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to be fair, our industry is way ahead on pay per sale, and they hate it.
Didn't label it correctly at the beginning.
Right.
Now, are you ready to rescind your perspective on the Snapchat glasses yet? Are you still you're still hanging on to it's just a pop that's going to flatten out? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that the glasses themselves. I'm just saying
that they haven't had they really haven't had much of a life cycle yet either. I mean,
no.
They've just recently gone into full release. I still have not seen a single person wearing them. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not going to happen. And Google Glass proved it to me. So all they did was take a failed idea that Google walked away from and made it stylish. So they're going to get a bit of a pop from it, but it's just not going to happen. I mean, it really isn't. It doesn't have staying power. There's no reason to do it.
In this current iteration, I'm agreeing with you, but I'm also not disagreeing that there is going to be some type of interaction.
No, listen, GoPro should do it. GoPro should do it. There should be something like that. But this whole walking around and randomly sharing, like that beckons back to the early days of Twitter, when people would tweet that they were on the toilet and stuff, or that they ate something, right? That's they're talking to the earliest of early adopters. And then they think because they made them like hut colors that the millennials will fall for it. But the bottom line is the first time you're not allowed to go somewhere because you have them, you're just gonna, like, your usage will go burp. Oh, I can't bring these into the movie theater with me. I can't go into this museum with them. I can't do this. I can't do that. Like all of a sudden.
I think the value of them, if they can turn into augmented reality function.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. But now you're talking about a completely different device, right? And but even that, I don't know, man. I don't know if AR as facial wear is tough. Okay. Yeah. Facial wear is really
the world of fashion and personal appearance. And yes.
And like, it's real easy for something to tip from cool to nerdy. Like that line is super thin. And I
still haven't got the figuring of which one's a girly car and which one's a guy's car.
Well, here's the thing. Most of the coolest cars, if you actually go look at who buys them the most, it's women. Like,
yeah.
I love Mini Coopers. I would drive a Mini Cooper.
See, now, I would not have known that would have been a girly car. I would have just like, that's cool as car.
Their primary audience.
Yeah, is it?
Like,
yeah. BMW 325.
Pretty much anything that's convertible is going to skew a
man,
larger
that just
female audience.
Well, I don't know. A nice little an old 442 GTO Cutlass. That would be.
No, but I'm talking
I don't
modern.
think-
I'm talking modern car sales, not
Nice.
classics.
Let's see. Number 6, visually driven advertising. Duh. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't as good a list as I had hoped it would have been, but yeah, they are trying to talk. Well, to be fair, there is paragraphs associated with these
yeah,
headlines.
and the supporting paragraphs are good. It's actually a really
Yeah.
good blog post.
Yeah, it is a good blog post. I'm being snippy
Now,
about it because it's
granted,
like,
you'd know all these things if you watched our show every week because
actually, that's kind of the reason why I'm pointing these out. It's like,
Yeah.
this is not just old news. This is repeat news for us. We've done these things and more persistently. We've
some of them
learned
are
about
dead
something.
horses that we've buried, brought back, and beaten again. Like,
Hey, I got a question for you, and this is a legitimate question.
Sure.
I've been touting that programmatic is dying because my terminology for programmatic, definition of programmatic, was simply targeting based on demographics, and that the dynamic data marketing was the term that was being used for your real-time content, real-time profiling based on current usages, not just I'm a female 35 living in XYZ location with an income of Y.
it's still
That to me is
programmatic, though.
Well, and that's the thing.
It's
I'm
just
losing
more
touch with the
advanced.
fact because programmatic is on the upswing. Everybody's referring to programmatic as the continued growth factor. And to me, I'm like, no, programmatic is the way I had defined it before, was a dead static model of there was retargeting, which was, hey, you visited, I get to hammer the crap out of you. And then there was programmatic, which was, hey, you're a demographic XYZ, I get to target you. And then dynamic data marketing was, you're those things and you're situationally in this need with this particular traffic interest. So there was an enhanced level of real time to it. But
Yeah.
I'm finding out that the definition isn't sticking and that programmatic is sticking. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I gotta apologize to some people where I told them, oh, programmatic's dying, man. And they're looking at me
The
weird.
old-
I'm like,
The old way you thought about programmatic.
the old way I thought about programmatic is dying. The
Programmatic
new way programmatic is living.
and it's
Yeah.
better. I mean, quite honestly, it's harder,
But
but it's better.
you made a great point that I don't think people may appreciate it as much as what you said, that the personalization cycle that we're going through, there was a double-edged sword to that, and the back edge of it was that you're just put into the echo chamber of your own thoughts. It's like a manager surrounding himself with people that just agree all the time.
Mhm.
You're really literally selling yourself, putting yourself around with content that you're agreeable with. It's just a reverse statement. And so because of that, you believe what you believe because it's all around you to believe in.
Yep.
And I don't think people realize that was a pretty deep statement on your part, the echo chamber thing, because in all honesty, that's the worst thing you want to do as a manager. You want dissension. You want
Well,
other
listen,
talents around you.
That's the worst thing you want to do as a human being.
Yeah.
Like, because you're just robbing yourself of the ability to grow.
Yep. So deep thought for the day, folks. Deep thoughts
thought.
by Dan Henley. Gosh, I'm nice enough and good enough, and people like me.
That's right.
Let's see. Remarketing. We just kind of touched on that. Big data and real-time analytics. Again, no new news, but it's funny that they're still using the term big data. I think we've moved past that.
Incorrectly.
Yeah.
Because technology has made it to that if you're using the right stuff, there's no such thing as big data, because the actual definition of big data is it's so much data you can't possibly do something with it. And
Yep.
that's
Definition of infinity. You can't define it. That's why it's infinity.
right.
Mobile app development, and again, this by its own statement would seem kind of counterproductive, but it's to your point that you made early in this year, and have been a proponent the entire year. Apps are dead. It's the actual browser-based interface and the app functionality being incorporated into
Web apps.
growth. Web apps, growing into usages of web apps, and nothing
But
more
you
so
don't
says that when it turns into a WordPress plugin.
Right. You don't need a mobile app unless literally you need access to something on the OS of the device that isn't available through the browser on the device. But even that, like, that's,
Just get a very small list.
yeah, like, it's really small. And, the other thing is the things that do need that, there are lots of apps, and those apps are compelling. So unless you have some amazingly compelling reason that someone has to download your app, like, if you're Marriott, I get it. If you're a Marriott, you don't need your own app.
Dan says, great show as always. Unfortunately, I have to go. Have a great new year. Great new year to you, Dan. Thank you so much. And I guess we should remind people on Facebook or Periscope. Whoa, 100 and anyway, Periscope's super for us today. Well, here's for a dying platform. We got more. If you'd like to join the show, you jump over to Howza.com, HUZZA.io, And you have to log in with Twitter to join into the chat, or if you want to go visual.
You have
with
like
us,
3 choices now. It's not just Twitter. You have 3 choices.
Yeah.
I think you can log
Oh
in.
yeah, you do Facebook and then Patreon, which I'm not a gamer, but I guess if you're a gamer, Patreon's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you have that to join us onto it. Of course, I'm keeping an eye on Facebook and on Periscope. I've learned how to split those screens so I can keep, if you make a comment on those, I can throw them into the show. But you can join us on How's It, or you can go to bit.ly/HDM show 73 and join that away as well. Okay. So, and by the way, the Painter's House is trying to get painted. I've been doing so much personal purging and stuff. It's crazy. Trying to get the website updated and all this other fun stuff thrown in there. So.
Yeah, actually, we were on your site the other day.
Oh no! Don't go!
Brian and I were on there just kind of looking around, and I said to Brian, as we were talking about some of your content, I'm like, he probably could use someone to help him write out some content because he's got some areas that are lorem ipsum. The standard.
I found some ipsilons. I didn't know I had ipsilons.
So Brian's remote for me, and he goes, "Oh man, just don't tell me that it's on like his references page or his testimonials page." And he clicked
everywhere.
it, and just started laughing. So your testimonials page is.
Oh yeah. I found ipsilons. I'm like, what the? I changed templates, and of course the link didn't convert over. So what I have is the original pages were turned into ipsilons.
Listen,
did I know that?
Glass
no,
house. Like,
it is. But dude, I told you, it's like it is so bad. I'm sitting there going, unbelievable. I'm amazing. I have as the clients I do, let alone the clients that are wanting to have me. If they even go to my page or the website, they might be like,
listen. At least your page is in a semi-modern architecture. I mean, we've worked with hotels that they're like, oh yeah, we have this company doing all of our website and marketing, and you go look them up, and they're on like what looks like a Netscape page, maybe. I don't even know what the tech is, but it's like the very first internet sites. So don't worry about that too much, Lauren. You'll get there.
I'll get there. Well, you know what? I've been working on my GTM tagging and my Facebook. Again, it's amazing how much it changes. I don't do it as frequently as I used to. Facebook advertisement campaign builds and all that kind of stuff. And every time I go in, there's something new. There's some progression of growth to it, some variation to filtering that I just like, holy crap, where'd that come from? And I get my GTM set up again better. I redefined my Facebook pixels, blah, 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 technology stuff. Because, I mean, in order to talk about it, you need to be able to do it. I mean, I won't be the best. When I used to own restaurants, I used to tell my cooks, it's like, look, you're going to be faster, better than me, but make no mistake, I know how to cook my own food. So, you should know how to do every position in your business, because how can you gain respect to the person that's doing the work for you if they don't think you know what they do? So, in order to talk about doing these things, I have to have a good knowledge of how it functions. So I've been trying to clean my own stuff from the inside out. So I haven't got up to the front-facing stuff, which is the Lord Ipsums, Leah, but it's coming. It's coming. I'm going to put a speaker page up there too. But anyway, all right. So Speedy websites. That's about it. That's
so the one thing I think they're missing, but they actually prove as a point in the construct of this blog post is, I think 2017. I'm hopeful that 2017 we'll see more of this shift towards content being written to benefit the consumer versus content being written to benefit search engine positioning.
Yes. Well, who did I talk to? Do you remember War Games with Matthew Broderick?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember when they're racing to the Crystal Palace or NORAD, and the gate with the big door was closing? The big safe door that closed NORAD out.
I haven't seen it probably. Yeah.
Well, anyway, that was the analogy that someone was telling me. He says that's what's happening with Google right now. Is our ability to communicate with our guest is going to get cut off, and the door is closing. And if we can jump through that crack, still we're good. But after that door closes, if you're not already in direct contact with them, you're not in contact with them. So because that's why it's so important with the direct booking mentality right now and the direct contact with your guests. And what you do with Flip2 is create the relationships that to the person that you're doing business with without relying upon somebody else to talk for you. And unfortunately, the industry hasn't changed that in 16 in any stretch of the imagination. One of the stats I had, we started talking about it in show 30, which was January 6th of 16. We started talking about direct bookings, and it has been a part of our show every week. And yet at the end of 16, a lot of these institutions and this membership drive that they're doing for direct bookings is bullshit. That isn't driving membership. That's just driving a different rate strategy. They're abusing that value proposition completely right now. But our idea of creating direct communication with a guest is just unfortunately still too small of a voice for people to really appreciate the need for. And it's going to happen, I think, this year, 17, as things begin to tighten up, as we talked about, as we flatline and begin to reduce. And all of a sudden, the good and the bad starts showing more predominantly, where everybody right now is covered up with the layer of revenue. But now, as the water goes down, the rocks start showing. I think we're going to be finding that there's some people that have been taking advice well and doing this well and building that communication, using what you do, using what others do. And then there's others.
You know what I will say that does shock me, though, is we're finding it now that there's this weird kind of dark area in hotels of a certain size that are underperforming consistently, even versus smaller hotels. And that are, it appears to be hotels between 100 and 150 rooms, which is unfortunate because that's the average size of a hotel in the United States. We're actually finding that the amount of direct business that they drive for themselves, and when I say direct business, I don't just mean their website, I also mean their call center and, direct call to make reservations. We're finding that 20, 30, 40 room properties are outperforming them in whole numbers, not percentages, at an alarming rate. So smaller properties seem to have caught on to, they want more direct, bookings. And this middle zone, which is the average, is lacking. So we actually we have a kind of a gauge of flip to. We're not going to be super excited about installing it at your hotel unless you at least see 100 direct bookings a month through your web channel, which means you should be seeing a couple hundred direct bookings a month. And you'd be amazed at how many 100 to 150 room hotels that don't make that cutoff. Versus the amount of 20, 30, 40, 50 room hotels that do make that cutoff is astounding. Like it's amazing, to the point where we no longer use hotel size as like a high level, do we want to call this hotel? Because we used to say, you know what, let's not actively call on hotels under 40 rooms. But now it's like, if they're 80, 90 rooms, they may not be qualified, but if they're 30, 40 rooms, chances are they are doing pretty well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we found that interesting this year, is that these smaller properties seem to become more advanced in driving direct business.
I'm not going to say that it makes sense. It does make sense to me, but I mean,
it makes no sense. It makes no sense because they're doing it with less staff.
But here's my rationale. They're putting it into the humanistic aspect of it. You have the great athletes, and then you have people that are almost the great athletes. They're aspiring to be like the great athletes, so they relate to being bigger, faster, more. Okay, and then you have the people that know they're not great athletes. They're never going to be that athlete, so they get really good at what they do. And it seems like this middle ground hotels, just to make this analogy make some sort of sense, is trying to aspire to be that larger, bigger entity, whether it be the brand brother that they're competing against or whatever in market. And they're looking at them as the guideway and not behind them saying, we got to get better at what we're doing because this guy's kicking our ass. So rather than try to be like them, let's be what they're not or be better than what we can be that they can't. They're not taking that rationale because it seems like this middle ground of hotel size is trying to act like they're the 250, 300 size hotel in their strategies and methodologies of how they treat their guests. And the small boutique hotels are like, we ain't never going to be that. Let's be what we're at good. Yep. So maybe in that sense, it makes some sort of sense to it anyway.
Yeah. But interesting thing we noticed this year. So
it's crazy with that. Okay, so I have some stats, some fun stuff. The first ones we don't really have to hit too much, but some fun ones I thought that are a tribute to our durability of what we have done, because you have been a constant part of this, especially this whole year. Thank you. And I can honestly, sincerely thank you. It does take 2 hours of your time out, whether it's pre, post, during, or the whole show is 2 hours.
Listen, what's skipping lunch every Friday for a lot of fun, right?
I hope it has been worth it. It has been certainly worth it to me. And I mean this is the most sincere. You have changed my perspective on so many things. You've given me insight to so many things that I had not had an insight for. You make me pause and question what I believe in. And by doing that, either reaffirm it or change it, which is the best thing that I can ask a friend to do. So as a friend, I can sincerely appreciate you doing that for me.
What's always drawn me to this is just the amount of effort and how consistent you have been in making this show happen. Like, the fact is you're what, 73 shows in, and quite honestly, like, I don't know how much feedback you've been getting the whole time. I mean, I know we've been getting a lot of feedback lately, and a lot of people recognizing it, which is great. But the bottom line is you did so many shows without even knowing if it was doing anything, that I just respect the heck out of that.
Thank you.
And it's one of the reasons I always try to make sure my calendar's clear as much as possible.
I appreciate the dedication to it, because now it's finally beginning to, I think it's getting some decent traction. And not until I start accumulating some of these things. I sent them over to you. We had over 7,000 tweets, 1,250 LinkedIn's, and these are bottom line numbers. I didn't go total cap. I just did what I accounted for and then estimated some 1,000 plus Facebook posts. Every week I post on Pinterest, G+, Tumblr, Reddit. I post all that kind of stuff out there on a regular basis.
If you just look at your social stats, you have 7,000 tweets, 1,250 LinkedIn posts, 1,000 Facebook posts. Based on what we know, the average reach of a person is that's 300. So you're at 9,000? Let's call it 10,000 times 300. That's your show's reach.
Yeah,
people who at least have seen something
of it,
whether it be a logo, an awkward picture of us looking down because it captures the weirdest image, or
laughing, or doing something wrong, or my broadcast live sign minus a letter.
Yeah.
We've had our tremendous time, that's for sure.
Yeah, but it's a testament to just your dedication to making this happen and the amount of work you've put into it.
I looked at it. Our 24/7 channel has almost 7 days of uninterrupted content, or unrepeated content, not uninterrupted, unrepeated content. That is a lot of talking, my friend. That is a lot of talking.
Listen, I'm going to call it now, but by like the end of next year, This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing and Chill will be a thing.
Thank you. I think it will be too. Yeah, and by the way, I didn't even really realize that our audience had grown this big, because I just post to it and then moderate it. We have over 1,700 people following us on G+, which is 1,699 Google.
That's got to be members. like 90% of Google Plus. Like,
I mean, it's 1,699 Google employees, and maybe you, me, and somebody else.
No, I don't even think I follow us on G+, because I don't think I've logged into it in like a year and a half.
I always mirror post on all those things. But the fun part is that, other than paying for the show's hosting since Blab died in the middle of this year, that's it. We haven't spent money on advertising. So this has been because of the quality of the content.
Sweat equity
into it. So it's all there for it. I'll throw all these stats up on the post page for the show, so people can see some of these things. Some other claims to fame: we had 7 product guest hosts that came in. You were one of them, obviously, when we reviewed Flip 2.
And you've not been able to get rid of me since.
I've not been able to. Happily so. We also have had represented revenue managers, sales managers, hospitality marketers, owners, GMs, digital marketers, consultants, which would be Robert, myself, and so forth, trainers, property level members, team members. I have team members there, executive and C-level people from both brand and independent hotels. And we also have some people that are doing product development, programmers, people that I got a couple questions from programmers, because I'm trying to put together that thing we were talked about last episode and the episode before. And that was, we're going to do a Marketing Minute Monday, starting in next week. I'm going to do a quick little video snippet of answering a question. And as more and more questions go, actually, a whole pile of questions I can pull from right now. But as questions come in, we're going to share them between all of us. And we'll do a quick little video answer that is a minute or two, whatever it takes, just to answer at least the direction to answer the question further for or something. But we're going to do these little market minute snippets, because as we talk about on the show, it doesn't require having to sign a big contract and have a consultant or an agency online to answer sometimes simple questions. And we can provide that service pretty easily. If you join the show, you can literally ask a question here, and we've done that, and we've covered the answers pretty well. So
at least as far as we feel.
At least, yeah, we feel we've answered.
I feel like I've answered that question perfectly.
Oh! Here's a fun thing: 114 products, whether they're tools, services, or product, or services, products, tools, or services, we have reviewed, covered, or discussed on the show this year. I find that to be an amazing number. I mean, 114 seriously, of things from this piece of software which you didn't like to this piece of software which you didn't like. You are the acid bath of acceptance. If you like the software, I should buy stock in it because I know it's going to go somewhere.
It's always the big question of would I pay for it?
Does it get the Does it get the Everset on stamp of I buy it? If it is, I'm buying stock in it.
Yep.
Well, that's all I have for the agenda stuff. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of other stats to some stuff. We did broadcast from Australia, China, Canada, the UK, 17 states, a car, a plane, a boat, and a whole lot of hotel rooms and lobbies.
An active hurricane.
And yes, I'm going to make sure I add that in before I post the notes.
Yep.
And an active hurricane, because you joined us in the midst of what was
Matthew.
Matthew.
Yep.
Matthew, that's right. We didn't expect to see you on and you were there. You actually had probably better connection than we did at the time. I kept
hurricane math. Who knows?
Who knows?
So before we wrap this up, in the year end kind of feel, what are you hopeful for next year?
Well, not to get too political, but that's not as bad as I think it's going to be.
I think that's everyone. Even people who got what they wanted, I think, are probably saying, I hope it's just not as bad as it could.
Yeah.
Be.
From a hospitality perspective, I truly hope that our industry stabilizes and doesn't keep looking at goals to rise above other goals. It's unrealistic for us to consider that every day has to be better than the day previous. We have to we have to appreciate the value level that we're at right now, the ADRs, the occupancies we are, and anything that even questions it not continuing on that rise creates a massive negative down push that's unwarranted. I think that if there's a way to accept the fact that we have to stabilize our expectations of performance, I would like that, because it's going to allow what we do to amplify the success of those who appreciate what we do. There's a lot of bad marketing out there that's getting covered up just because revenues are flowing.
Yep.
And I think that there needs to be some realistic resets into the industry to allow, because it's hurting our guest experience, it's hurting our hospitality core, that we're not providing good personal guest experience because we're hiding up our flaws because there's a positive cash flow. And I think that has to get somehow realigned. I'm hoping 17 does that for us. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for, hopefully, kind of in the same idea is, first of all, indicators are showing 17 is probably less likely to be a heavy pullback year as we probably thought earlier in the year, and it's more likely to be flat or slightly better, slightly worse, but not any great shakes of movement. At least that's what it's looking like if you use leading indicators like stock markets and interest rates and things like that. So, but to your point of you can't always expect more, I would say I hope we learn this year that you can't expect more doing the same thing. And I hope that we take this next year, 2017, as the year to make our attention spans a little bit longer down the road, a little less reactionary and a bit more planning and execution beforehand. And we actually start looking at putting proverbial money in the bank. Let's start building future business earlier than we've done in the past. And let's start building relationships earlier than we've done in the past. I hope we see, I'm starting to see chatter that the industry is starting to talk that way. I'm hoping to see that develop. And quite honestly, I think for 17, I'd also like to see hotels better expose their personality. You're not a cold, faceless building.
Right.
You're passionate people.
True.
You're passionate people. You have amazing staff. Get them in the limelight, because it's people dealing with people, not buildings, not porte-cocheres.
Right.
It's people. So I'm hoping those are my big hopes for next year.
And I would amplify that too, is that it also, when you say that, it goes down to the most basic of hotels and the most basic of places. This isn't that advice of it's only people, not buildings, doesn't go to the great resorts that are destination based. It goes to the Motel 8 that's on the side of a road, not even a major interstate, between here and there, that has a crew that takes care of the people that stay there. And these things, because of the platforms that are available to us technology-wise, this is an amazing time to be a marketer. I mean, it's truly amazing, the ability to reach out individually and, you know, have a broadcast studio in your hand, so to speak, and have the ability to communicate to the masses. You can have those experiences shared correctly from a janitor that works at your Motel 8 on the side of the road nowhere, between nowhere to nowhere, and it still will make national news. It can still become something, and you can still benefit business-wise from it, but more importantly, you can benefit from the reward that it gives your staff to realize that they're not in the middle of nowhere.
Well, and they're not a number.
Yeah.
They're actually contributors, and they're important. You know, it's empowering if you actually think about adopting something like that.
That comes one of the key elements that I hope grows in 17. That is trust. That we've had our candy, we've had our drinking all this year, we've had our mergers, we've had our extremisms this year. We've gone to great lengths. Some stability of middle ground conformity, lack of polarization. And I mean, I'm saying this of the hospitality industry. We can say this in a larger sense too, but you know, there is a polarization within the industry as well. Be big or die, or be small and hide. It seems to be the polarization right now, that, you know, either you're Marriott, Starwood, the only way you're going to win is by being the biggest. And then there's other people that are like, we're never going to be the biggest, so let's make sure we hide and take care of our individual, which to your point means direct communication to guests and developing a relationship that we can control, that we don't have to rely upon anything other than ourselves to do. Yep. So I think there needs to be some middle ground. There has to be some better way between those two that everybody can kind of participate in as well. So holiday wishes. Eric was there. Hey,
yeah,
sorry,
Eric.
Thank you.
Another person who has consistently logged in to listen to us jabber about our points of view.
He's going to be a neighbor soon, moving to Orlando.
I know. I'm so happy for him. Great company he's going to.
Yeah. I mean, he's leaving Phoenix, which is a very cool city. Not cool in temperature, but I mean, it's a cool city. It really is a neat city. Yeah. But Orlando, there's a lot of diversity in Orlando.
Orlando is better.
You wasn't going to get a descending voice from you on that one.
Have you not just realized I could be the mayor of Orlando?
You could be.
I don't understand why people don't live here. Seriously.
You should just don't understand it. You go, look, I got this.
Yeah, I got this. You want to live.
By the way, I was thinking about applying for the Visit Florida jobs. I mean, I heard there's 3 top level entries that are vacant.
I think you'd be great for it. Just, don't make the mistake of doing a contract with Pitbull.
Yeah, well, $1 million contract, and that's yet to be seen whether that was a bad decision or not. It just was a very large.
It was a great decision. Because that would cost any other business 5 times that. But here's the thing. Let's go back to fake news. You read the Orlando Sentinel article about this issue, and they make it sound like, man, they just so skew it to make it sound like local taxpayers. And, when they say local taxpayers, people are thinking like, oh, this is coming out of my real estate tax and, my this and that. They have the right to see all of what happens and all of that. Here's the thing: Visit Florida, Visit Orlando, those are funded through tourism tax.
Bed tax.
Yes, that's not coming out of the person who never goes to the tourism
road.
Right.
Yeah, they're not going to not fix your road because they bought Pitbull to come play at a concert. Goddamn.
Right. But by the way, the reason you have an arena and the reason you have a really nice highway being worked on is partially because of tourism tax. The reason you have a world-class airport is tourism tax, and you don't pay a cent for it unless you go stay at one of these hotels. But you read the article and it makes it sound like, man, your property taxes, you're being killed because these people spent $1 million with Pitbull, and Visit Orlando spends $48 million a year of taxpayer money. Well, yeah, if you're a
state that you're living in, and you couldn't, as a resident, actually pay for all the stuff that you're taking advantage of because the tourism pays the sales tax that does that.
Right. We would still be a swamp if it wasn't for tourism.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so
it reminded me, I got to reach out to David Atkins because he dedicated himself heart and soul. He had his agency running there for a while, well, more than a while, years.
And now he's
born and bred Visit Florida. I mean, I don't hear from him anymore. He's not in any. He dropped out of HSMEI. He dropped out of a lot of stuff.
I saw him about a month ago at the Visit
Yeah.
Florida Digital
Makes sense.
Summit.
And I love what they're doing. I love the videos they're doing. The videos they're doing with the drones and stuff and the location. I had been a proponent of that for eons. Not that I'm saying it was the first to think of it. I just think it's a great idea that they did it because I love the idea. I love what they're doing for the visualization of the locations, and I think
just don't read the news about it, because if you read the news about it, you're going to be dumbfounded by the point of views that you see.
Are people bashing the videos? Really?
Oh no, they're just bashing the spend and how it's a waste of taxpayers' money. Hello, that tax basis only exists because people know what Orlando is or what Florida is.
You know what? A CVB that knocks it out of the park. There's two down in the Southwest. Is the Fort Lauderdale Chamber. Fernando Harb down there, a great guy, does great work. And the Miami one freaking knocks it out of the park. Now there's politics associated with that one, but
the Florida Keys.
And Monroe. Oh yeah, I was on the DAC committee down there for Key Largo for the Florida Keys one, and Key West was the lion's share. But all the reason why, because you need an anchor for attention, and their slogans and what they do is they do an amazingly good job. Amazing.
St. Pete Clearwater too. I mean, we actually have some really
doing good. And I got to throw a hat in my little hometown, not hometown, but my current hometown residency in Florida, and that is the Southwest Florida CVB for Sanibel Island and the Fort Myers beach areas. Yeah. They're getting into the game with the visualizations, the videos. They're no longer posting shit like it's 72 and here's a picture of a cocktail on the beach. They're talking about things to do, why it's what you want to do here. They're really getting into the content relevance to the market that's interested. They're getting smart. They're getting smart. I do. I think they're all doing well. I can't really call out any of the other ones though. None of the other ones really pop up at this point.
No. I mean, but those are. But I will say, but they're probably also some of the most shining examples of CVBs. Period.
Yeah.
And their budgets are probably amongst the top budgets as well that CVBs get, because tourism is a huge part of our economy in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you build it well, they do come. And if they do come, they do spend taxes to do it. They buy, they spend on taxes for purchases. So, and bed taxes in there. So, hey, we got to not make sure we don't mention Robert Cole has been with us. I mean, Robert Cole was one of the first to join back when we first started as well. Tim Peter also. I mean, the four of us have been the thickest thieves for the longest time for this whole show all year for all of us. And to that dedication, we just saw Robert pop in today. He's, probably with a Mai Tai in hand at Frenchman's Reef down in St. Thomas. But, rather than the fact he probably want to rub that in, he made the effort to be with us. He probably paid $100 just to try to make that 10 megabyte connection. And then Tim Peter, I mean, he takes his time out too and is consistent and has great insights. It's been a real pleasure to have all four of us be the regular co-host. And I mean that sincerely, co-host, because it stopped being my show after it was just me being on it. So I hope for a very pleasant 2017.
So predictions for 2017. I think Robert Cole will mention Cornell in Four Seasons over 700 times. I'm going to say 700 as the over under.
Is that the over under 700?
And I think 2017 will be the year that Tim Peters' blog officially crosses over being a quarter of the internet's content.
At least in searchable content, yes.
Exactly. So those are also.
If you question that, there is a blog for it. There is a blog about him taking over the internet on timpeter.com / take over the world.
It should just be .com.
.com. Yeah, it should just be timpeter.com.
No, just .com. Like,
oh yes, it should be just
.com.
The
internet, he should just be
.com.
No, I kid, but actually, the two of them really fill in a lot of areas where I tend to get quiet because, anything that happened in this industry prior to like 1999, I have no direct experience in. So, I mean, without them, our historians, if you will.
Yeah, well, Robert is by far the fact, not the fact checker. That designation is Holly Zobo, who also, I don't know if she's with us on the show. She's usually the one that is in the texting on to the side, but she joins us when we have a lightness of host. She was with us last week. Absolute ardent supporter, and she is the current reigning chairperson of the HSMI Digital Marketing Council. So it's great that she's actively involved with the show and believes in it so much and contributes as much as she does. But she's been a great resource for us. But Robert he works a lot with Focusrite and a lot of these agencies that they just what's the T-shirt say? It's just an opinion unless there's data. He's the guy that's the data. He's the one that digs the data. He just doesn't say XYZ. He shows the data that it's why it's XYZ. And then Tim, because of he teaches at Rutgers as adjunct professor. So he's very much into what's coming into our culture from the hospitality training side. And it's a pleasure to know that not all is lost on them if Tim's one of the ones that teaches them, because I'm sure, keeps them very well grounded into the realities of that's nice that it's written in a book, but that's total bullshit in the real world. And I think he probably keeps their head pretty much swiveled on straight. But he's a huge, great insight when it comes to looking at something from all angles and not just from the angle that it's being presented in, which is a huge asset to have on the show. So again, thanks that even though they're not here and dutifully so, it's always a privilege when they are here. It's never an obligation. They're enjoying their vacations and their holidays with family. But to thank them for all the times that they spend with us over the course of the year as well. So
absolutely.
So next year is going to be fun. We're going to be a little bit more tied with HSMI, but not overly so. It's still our show. It's not theirs, but they do now have a realization that they like to participate in the fun that we have created. So we'll see, hopefully, more active participation.
You'll probably see more value out of us too, because we'll have to be focused for the first 30 minutes of the show.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll have to be targeted on whatever the person is, but there are topics, and of course we offer this as a suggestion to all of our listeners and people that follow us. If you have topics that you're interested in, or things that you have questions about, you're always welcome to join the show and bring them live. Honestly, I don't think there's anything that can stump us. And if we ever get to the point where we can't answer it
we'll make it up
on the show, we'll make it up, and it'll sound just as real as if it was true. And then we're good. Now, we'll go research it and we'll get back with you is the idea.
Well, I'll instantly answer. The other three hosts will.
Robert will go research it for you. Tim will have a perspective on it. And I'll just shuffle.
No, you'll talk about some new tool that.
I'll be like,
I mean, I would love to see more people try and bring topics that we haven't talked about. I think it'd be more fun that way. I'm looking forward to HSMAI's involvement. They're consistently the only organization inside this industry that I have supported throughout my entire career. And a lot of that has to do with how I feel about, how they drive this industry forward. I've been a big sponsor of a lot of their stuff, especially when it's early, because I like the fact that they experiment and try new things. And I'm excited that they're seeing value somehow in what we do. Because I'm still shocked that people actually tell me that they watch this show and they enjoy it. Because like in value proposition,
this is like therapy for us. I mean, this is just therapy.
These are things that I'm not saying to you if you're paying me necessarily. But I really sometimes want to say, listen, I think it's one of the fun things about this show is we're all doing this because we truly want to see the industry better. Yes. Whether it's our version of better or someone else's version of better, hopefully this inspires someone to keep moving things forward. And I think between all of us, we just like to talk about what's happened and kind of point out how it was wrong.
With an opinion about why we think that too.
Because, listen, when it's happening, that's incredibly hard to do. After it's happened, it's super easy to be like, oh, I totally would have done this. Yeah, come on.
I also add too that when you say support HSMI, it's just not a token that you do that. As over the course of the show, people know that I've just got into consulting now for a little over a year personally. So I have a newfound appreciation of when it means to write a check where you're not getting revenue from it. That you and you've done that many times with HSMAI where you have been in support of things, again, to the purity of saying, hey, I believe in what you're doing. You're bringing better to the industry. And because of that, I'm willing to give you money that I'm earning to give to you where it's not going to earn anything. It's really in support of something. And that's a lot different than saying, I'm going to give you money for an advertisement piece because it isn't.
Yeah. We've never run an ad with HSMAI. We like to sponsor events and
Yeah, you do. And that's why I want to point that out, is that you're not one to run an ad. You're one to sponsor a support of something that in order for them to get it to the public or get it to the industry, they need the funding to do that. And you're the person that usually is one of the ones that writes the check for that. So huge kudos for that, rather than just saying, oh, I'll put an ad up and I'm only going to give you money if it benefits me. You don't do that. And then that's why you also see here on the show, we made a conscious decision when we first started the show. This show is for the benefit of the industry. We don't have sponsors. We don't have people paying to be here, or what have you. So it gives us a great latitude. And also with HSMAI, they leave us free reign. It's our show. You'll see us and hear us in the upcoming show for 2017, where we're going to tell people this is not an HSMAI show. It's in support of HSMAI, and HSMAI supports what we're doing, but our views are ours. And all those who aren't come on the show, it's their views as well. And this isn't reflection. So we don't I told Bob Gilbert, president of HSMAI, I never want you to get that call from a sponsor that says, my competitor was on that show you're talking about, and they were talking about how good they are, and I give you lots of money so that, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I never want you to get that call. Never want you to get that call.
I do want him to get that call, and I want him to say, it's free to be on the show. So
go there.
Pony on up and let's talk about what makes you good.
Come on. And that's a challenge to any product, any service, anybody. You will have time to talk about your product and your service. We want to hear about it because we want to know who it's good for and what it's good for and what limitations are not. We're not out to fry anybody. We're out to really ask what we hope are professionally insighted questions as to what the real benefit and value proposition your product offers. And if you disagree with something that we have as a perspective, we talk about your product of 114 that we've talked about this year, and you're one of them and you disagree with how we looked at it,
come aboard and tell us. Yep.
Tell us we're wrong. I've been wrong on this show, probably every show. In some capacity, I have said something that either you, Tim, or Robert have gone over and said, yeah, no. And I'm like, why? And then I listen, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am wrong. That's right. That's the show. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Right. I don't want to be around people that just tell me I'm right all the time.
And in a lot of cases, our knowledge of some of these products are limited to either light usage or what their marketing says they do. Which in some cases is not aligned to what the real benefits are, unfortunately. So again, like if you're on the receiving end of any form of questioning, of us questioning what you do for the industry, understand you come on, you will be greeted with open minds and support. Yep. And, if you're able to be honest and tell us that, this is where you're wrong, we'll accept it.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
But don't come on this show saying things that aren't true, because that won't end well for you.
We do have fact checkers in the audience and online.
Yep.
But, and I also, I guess, to say to everyone, because this is an open invitation to those who will be joining us from the HSMAI boards and councils, that video coverage is not intimidating. It becomes very natural, very quickly, very easily. After the first minute of you thinking that you're on a camera, it goes away.
Yep.
I don't know how many times I've been caught playing back recordings where I'm scratching my nose or whatever thing else that I guess professional broadcasters shouldn't be doing. But this isn't and never has pretended to be a professional broadcast. It's meant to be a informational broadcast that's engaging because it's visual. So,
yep. Well, and listen, a perfect case to anyone who's afraid that something they do wrong on video is possibly going to bite them. I literally had someone tell me about a month ago that I would be great on this show that goes on weekly, and it was this show. So people don't really remember anyways. And
I don't even remember anyway. And since I've had this green screen up for the past, 5 or 6 shows, and you always wear the same clothes, because
wearing a sweater today.
You're wearing a sweater today, so I'll be able to see this show differently. But we too, when I go through and look at all the different shows, I can't tell which show it is visually quickly, but I can always tell by Robert or Tim whether there's a guitar in the background or not, and whether Tim is Robert is somewhere else other than where Robert. I don't know, yeah. But yeah, we don't change very much except for clothes. But
no.
Oh well. All right. Well, with that covered of topics, like I said, all of this information plus a lot more fun stats about the show and things that we've done over the course of the year and things that we've focused on different shows are going to be in the show notes, which are at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. Do not look for any page that says e pluribus unum on it or lor ipsum. Those will go away on my website since they seem to have popped up on a redesign. But you can go to /live for this show. And archive of all the other shows will be linked to there. I am cleaning up that page where before I just would let them run for the entire quarter and then move them to an archive page. Now it's only going to be the current show, and then it's archive links. Just because It was way too long, way too scrolly. I'm not putting the minutes on there. The minutes will stay on the post. Every show that we do has a live post to it. This one is hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live/73, which will have all the show notes and player on it. So yeah, some things. I'm trying to get better and cleaner on the website stuff. So
one day this
someday I will get rid of the
every
way. Yeah, who knows? Again, thank you so much, Mr. Ed, for the time. It was always a privilege of your time. And we will be back again next Friday. I will be announcing I'll be putting all the new scheduling on. If you go to the website, you'll see that this was the last scheduled event. That's about to change over the weekend. I'll be adding all of the first quarter, actually the first half of the year, this time with potential guests and also suggested topics. Now, they may change as time moves forward, just like the football. They sometimes reschedule different games depending upon the popularity. So that will shift depending upon things that change in our industry. But you'll see topic and potential guest visitation also in that schedule. So please, if you see things of interest, please decide to join us. Subscribe to the show so that you can be reminded of the show. You can do that on the website, or you can do it on Whoozah. And we hope to see you joining us more frequently next year. And Mr. Ed, as always, I hope to see you every show next year.
I will try.
Yeah.
I'll at least be more that I'm not. So
with that, for those who want to find you, Mr. Ed, where can they find you?
Edward St. Onge on any social network, and flip.to.
And for me, you can always see me at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. Again, this show is /live. You'll see the show there. If the podcast I'll be recording today will be episode number 135, 2.5 years of that for this particular edition, 4 years before that. We've been doing this podcast for 7 years now.
Wow.
But not weekly. Weekly's only been the past 2.5 years. But there'll be a recap of this show, and as well as some maybe more in-depth discussion of some of the particular points on the links that we talked about today. It's only a 20-minute podcast, easy, something you listen to on the commute to work or workout or wherever you listen to podcasts if you do. And that can be at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com /podcast/135. So anyway, with that, thank you again, Mr. Ed. Have a very happy New Year. I will, of course, make the jokes next year that I haven't seen you since last year. That's just the thing. And I do, if you do decide to buy any more of those cool toys like you have for your family, that's that little scooter that spins around. You know, I want one. I just don't think they make one as a size that fits me.
I keep looking, man. Kids today have so much cooler things than we had when we were kids.
Although I am going to take your suggestion, when I come through Orlando, I'm going to go to the Star Wars store because
you have to.
I need a new lightsaber and a few other things.
I thought about you yesterday. I was in Best Buy and one of those lightsabers were there.
See, I might have to go to Best Buy, just pick one up because I need me a lightsaber. I don't know why, I just need me a lightsaber. All right, Mr. Ed, I'm going to go over and conclude our live show, and then we'll be tapping out on the Facebook Live and Periscope all at once. So for everyone else, thank you so very much. A very happy New Year for everyone. Tim and Robert, enjoy your time away, and we look forward to seeing you join the show again as soon as you can. And thank you again, as always, for your support through the entire year and the year previous to this. So to everyone, a very happy New Year.
Happy New Year.